people questioning whether this World Cup will go ahead.
This is the person football has aggressively aligned itself. In a way, you do not have to do that. You don't have to do it.
The immediate consequences for Infantino are zero.
The regime killed enough footballers, and I mean quite a high-level footballers, to have two teams on the pitch.
Utterly grotesque.
Brian says, at this point, would everyone feel just a bit relieved if the World Cup was cancelled? So over the weekend, there were US and Israeli missile strikes on Iran. You probably all know this. The Iranian leader Ayatollah al-Khamenei was killed. We asked the question about what this means for the World Cup, Philippe, because Iran have said they might pull out of the World Cup. They're in a group with New Zealand, Belgium and Egypt, all those games scheduled to play in the US.
Yeah, Los Angeles and Seattle, yeah.
So if they do pull out, what happens?
Nobody knows. Is the short and long of because it's a question that I and a few colleagues have been putting to FIFA to ask them, what if Iran just withdraws from the competition? And there doesn't seem to be anything in the regulations and the statutes which says, okay, like, for example, if they had taken part in the playoff, the other team would automatically be qualified. In this particular case, they topped their group in front of Uzbekistan, I believe. So you would think, well, maybe Uzbekistan could, but the way that the qualification worked in the Asian Confederation means that would be so unfair to all the other teams. So there's absolutely nothing in place and no comment from the time being. FIFA is satisfying itself with saying we are closely monitoring the situation. And to be honest, the problem is not just Iran, but it has an impact, obviously, on football in the whole region. You will have seen that the Gulf states have suspended their domestic leagues, that we were supposed to have the Finalissima, which is the intercontinental cup between Spain and Argentina, taking place at the end of the month, that in Qatar, and that's probably not going to happen if what we see in Iran carries on, which unfortunately it might well do.
Yeah.
So at the moment, I think nobody knows. Nobody has a clue of what is going to go on. I mean, Mehdi Taj, the president of the Iranian Federation, good friend of Gianni Infantino, by the way, who had complimented him on his re-election to the top of the Iran FA, said basically the decision was in the hands of the people who are the head of sport, the Ministry of Sports, basically, of Iran, and so basically the government.
You saw Donald Trump's absurd message calling on the people of Iran to throw themselves in front of the bullets of the...
Yeah.
I mean, ridiculous. We remember what happened after the first Gulf War, when he called on the Kurds to rise up against Saddam Hussein, and they were slaughtered. I mean, he was speaking there to some distant historical narrative of how he can justify it. It feels ridiculous to talk about football, but football has blood on its hands here. You know the hat that Trump was wearing while he made that?
Yeah.
It's the same hat that Infantino was wearing at the Board of Peace meeting, just a different shade.
Laughing his head off.
It's a piece of Trump merchandise. Yeah. He's literally selling merch while delivering a message to the people of Iran.
They gave me their first Peace Prize. I got screwed by Norway, and they said, let's give him a Peace Prize. I mean, very good. Thank you, Johnny. I appreciate it. Johnny's very smart.
This is the person football has aggressively aligned itself. In a way, you do not have to do that. You don't have to do it. The World Cup will still happen.
But there are no implications for Infantino, are there?
Not for the time being.
Not for the time being, but he is the propaganda minister for someone who you don't need me to describe this person. And he has willingly accepted that role. He did not have to do it, and he's dragging us all with him. And it is, from a purely sport point of view, utterly grotesque.
The immediate consequences for Infantino are zero.
Yes.
But will there ever be a comeuppance for him from football?
Oh, there'll be a comeuppance in the end for everyone, but it won't come because he's done something that's considered morally wrong. It will come because a different faction decides it's time to get rid of him.
And it is worth saying, and you were saying in the WhatsApp group, Iran's repressive regime has, of course, because football is part of society, lots of footballers have been killed by this regime.
Iran should have been kicked out of FIFA a long time ago, banned by FIFA a long time ago. I mean, we're preparing something with Yosemite. Actually, one of the pieces that has caused me the most grief, and I really mean that literally, by a young Iranian journalist who has compiled the names of all the footballers, male and female, who've been killed by this awful regime. It was very, very hard work. And this has been happening for a long time. In fact, we think that just on 8th and 9th January, when the bloodshed was its highest, the regime killed enough footballers, and I mean quite a high-level footballers, to have 2 teams on the pitch. Killed them. Footballers as young as 15 who were with, in the development team of some of the Iran Gulf Pro League and so forth. So it is one of those where, I mean, your heart goes out to that country and the people there who just don't deserve that. And as to Infantino, people talk about the verdict of history. That verdict usually comes very, very late, and too late, but it won't be a kind one, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. And like you say, Barney, talking about football seems ridiculous. People questioning whether this World Cup will go ahead, like they always do.
But yeah, it's not ridiculous because football's forced itself into this conversation. Yeah. It's entirely right because he's wearing a hat that made by Trump Incorporated. So yeah, it is ridiculous, but it's also not. It's entirely understandable.